Hi, Project Impact Scholars. This is Rob coming to you healthy, and I hope that you're feeling as good as you can right now as well. This is going to be the second module to prepare you for your career search, and it's going to be building upon a lot of the topics that were discussed last week. So if you haven't had a chance, I would recommend that you go and watch that video first. All of these are scheduled to last only about 15 minutes or so that you can fit them within your course schedule. Know that spring break is coming up and you're going to have some time to rest and just think about what it's been like over the past 2 weeks for your transition online, which has not been easy, I'm sure. I also just wanted to provide you with some activities that you can do during that period of time so that you can feel more comfortable with what your job search is going to look like a month from now. There are things that you can be doing right now that are going to be helping you to find that perfect job for you in a month or two. So I'm going to be moving over to the presentation here. You'll remember these building blocks that we discussed last week. So last week we went over potential employers to look for, as well as the fact that you've already started this by declaring your major and going after that basic certificate that you're already in. This week, we're going to be looking at 3 additional building blocks. We're going to be delving deeper into that industry company research. We're going to be looking at our education and training, as well as our skills that we've come into this experience already with, to try to identify strengths that we have, but then also some gaps that we have in skills, and try to come up with a plan for filling those gaps. So just a little bit of a refresher, we will be going back and looking for jobs the same way that I showed in the previous week. So again, you can just go to LinkedIn Jobs, look at these keywords to be including within your job search, and here's how the jobs will come up. So you type in community healthcare worker for Chicago, and you have one pop up for Alivio Medical Center. And what we're really looking at are the essential duties and responsibilities section of each. So before we delve into looking at a particular job description, I want you to revisit some of the previous experiences for what you have done well. Now, many of us in a previous job or an experience, sometimes we remember the reason why we left more than the reason why we were there for so long. So for an example, sharing here, for somebody who's been a salesperson for Verizon Wireless. So this quote here is that I helped match customer preferences to phones and tablets. My favorite moments were when a previous customer came into the store and asked for me personally because they trusted my insight. And here's the part where maybe it turned negative for you. While I met my sales goals each week, management wanted me to upsell customers to more expensive products. However, here's a reframing of it, that you decided to leave the company because you wanted to pursue a career that was focused on long-term relationships with clients. There's a positive end to it. So all that you have done with this statement is recognize your strengths, why this position didn't align with you, but reflecting in a way that looks at it from an asset-based mindset. What did you do well? Another example is a clerk at Foot Locker. So in this one, quote would be, I worked in a mall and there was a lot of downtime between customers coming into the store. Our computers blocked a lot of internet sites, but I was able to access an online forum for Foot Locker employees. So by keeping up with forum posts, that helped me realize release dates for high demand new products, new shoes that were going to be coming out. To help myself keep track of all of this, I created a release date calendar. Now, this release date calendar wasn't just used by me in the end, it was used by other employees and eventually printed out and shared with customers. That right there is going to be a transferable skill. It's going to cut across any job you're looking for. And then let's think about an experience that might have happened outside of work. So a volunteer at a local church. My family and I have been active members in our church for years. My father went every Saturday morning to help clean and tune the instruments. Following in his footsteps, I have been a member of the choir for the past 3 years. When a member of our community was in the hospital, I led an effort to record a few of our songs and uploaded them to our website for her to listen to. And since then, this has become a regular occurrence for our church choir. So the ability to take an activity that you're devoting a lot of time to, you've committed to, and help improve it is something that every employer is going to be looking for as well. So as we move forward, this is going to be the type of thing that you'll be doing, is reflecting on past experiences, but now let's think about it through the lens of the job you might be looking for. So again, what we're looking for are these transferable skills we discussed last week, that you look at the duties of the job you want, you cross-reference those with skills that you have from outside of that particular field, but likely overlap. So what we're going to be doing now is called the two highlighter approach. So we're going to take a job description and we're going to highlight each of the duties based upon two categories. In green, I have this experience. In blue, a skill that I should look to grow in. Oftentimes when we look at a job description, we find a skill that we aren't comfortable in. We feel like it's not going to be a fit for us. What I want to help with is I want you to revision that. I want you to think about the job as far as, do I want this job or not? If it is a job that, after reviewing the company's mission and a lot of the duties, you think yes, take a look at those skills that maybe you don't feel comfortable with and think about how you might be able to address those now. That's something that over these next couple of months, we can take action on so that there's going to be way more green on your screen than blue. So I'm going to switch over to a Word document and just talk this through with you. So here's that same job description. I've cleared out the highlighting, and let's go through the first few bullet points. Generally, the first few bullet points of a job description are going to be the things that the employer wants more. So those are the ones that you might want to focus on for trying to have as many be green as possible versus blue. So first essential job function, educates clients on how to use the healthcare and social service systems. Now, here's a trick, is look for the verbs in here and think to yourself, when did I educate clients? Client can be a patient, client can be a customer. Let's think back to that Foot Locker example of somebody who developed a release calendar for shoes. That person is educating the customers as to when that product's going to be out. So as far as a transferable skill for that person, I would highlight this with green. You can do more research to better understand the healthcare system and social service systems to get you through that portion of the statement. But when you're potentially doing something like writing a cover letter conveying your skill, you are going to be able to say, I educated clients, I educated customers. The next bullet item, gathers information from medical providers and insurers. Same thing, focus on the verbs, gathering of information. I might say that's very similar to the statement above. That person gathered the release date information and then was able to educate the clients. So on here, I would say green as well. This third statement informs medical and social service providers about community needs. This is interesting because what you're looking at here is essentially the inverse of what we're discussing above. So here we were gathering information from the company to share outward with the clients. This statement is talking about gathering information from the clients and sharing it back to the company or the provider. So if you can think of a situation where you have done that, then perhaps you can put this in green. Now, if you want to put it in blue because you feel that that's more appropriate, it's okay. And it's something that we're going to talk about. How do I approach turning that potential skill gap into a skill asset? And again, because now is a great time for doing this, because as part of your education, you can start to convert some of the assignments you're working on to focus more on filling these skill gaps rather than just trying to accentuate the strengths that you might already have. So you'll go through a job description just like this. Highlight the things you feel comfortable with in green, highlight the things that you don't feel comfortable with in blue. There might be some that you leave blank that are a little bit in the middle, and that's an okay thing to do as well. What I would just encourage you to do is, in that scenario, you might want to consider just highlighting it as blue as well. That's something that might not be that big of a skill gap for you to overcome then. Those things that are a little bit in the middle, it might just take a brief interaction with somebody who knows how to do that for you to turn it into something that you're confident with. So closing the skill gap. There's a few ways that we can go about doing this, but I want to share an example that you all can do is you can take a look for somebody who is in that field doing that job. So here is a real life person on their LinkedIn where you can search for these individuals. We have Michelle, who's a community healthcare worker. And when you go down through their job, their past job history, you're going to find what they were doing before they had that community health worker job or that phlebotomist job or that cybersecurity job. This is completely cross industry that you can do this. So what Michelle shared was back in 2013, she was an intern for the National Eating Disorders Association. So look at the one paragraph that she describes here, and you can see how these would be naturally transferable skills for a community health worker. She talks about what the organization does, but she also talks about what she did. So her responsibilities included supervising volunteers with their tasks, making sure they were caught up on requests, responding to and formulating emails, making calls, answering calls, ensuring that the helpline continued to run smoothly. I'm sure most of you that have had a job where you've answered the phones before, you have done almost all of those activities. So these are all the types of transferable skills that you're going to be able to talk about during your cover letter that you're going to have show up as green on your 2-highlighter approach review of a job description. So a great way to go about filling some of these gaps as well is once you've identified some of them is reach out to your professor to ask for feedback. So if you share these potential gaps that you have with your professor, there's a couple of things that they might be able to do. The first is they might already know somebody that you can interact with that might be able to help close that skill gap. So in this example, we have an email that's going out to Professor Longren from the sterile processing program. So it doesn't have to be a long email, but what I would just say is make the subject line crisp. This one says request to discuss opportunities to develop my skills. And in your email, specifically call out a couple of those skills that you've highlighted in blue on your 2-highlighter review and ask if there's any way that there might be help for you to get to know those specific skills. So in here we have understanding the operation of steam gravity sterilizer and understanding STERRAD sterilizers. If I am a professor of a program, part of what I need to be able to do is understand what types of technologies are in the field that employers are using so that I can best help train students on that. So when I see STERRAD sterilizers and I'm the faculty member, I've probably already heard of those before. It might not be something that we have in our lab space now, but it's something that I can say, oh, okay, let me have you go talk to this person at this employer. I might also just know that the website of some of the training videos that already exist for it. So you could just go and watch those videos. And this is a quick way of having somebody help you curate all of that information that's online and maybe steer you in the right direction. For community health workers, I know that your program has created a shared Excel document about all of this type of information. So they have listed on here webinars and trainings that you can attend with the exact links to click on. And they're actually using this as a way of helping to make up your field experience hours during this time. So I've been shared this document and I will put it up on the Brightspace as well. And I recommend that you go onto this fairly soon to start chipping away at those field experience hours. For programs outside of community health worker though, this is the exact kind of thing that maybe doesn't exist in the document yet, but that faculty member, that program director likely is aware of something that they can share out with you. So what are some other ways that we can make up skills gaps? especially right now when we're in a virtual setting where maybe we don't have the ability to do this in the clinical experience just yet. Those are coming this summer once everything opens back up. But there's still things that you can do now to clear some of those skills gaps. One is to create a marketing tool. So whatever organization you might end up applying to, they're likely going to have, and they all do, I promise you, some sort of customer facing aspect. And if you are able to create a nice, crisp flyer that instructs individuals on some of the best practices for being prepared to come in for having blood drawn, what are the things to avoid? What are the things that you can do to ensure that you won't have any type of mark or scar on your arm afterwards by relaxing it or something along those lines? Now you can do it as a flyer. You can also use some of the free tools that are online to create some animations, some videos of it. A good one for that is Pawtoon. So it's free, and you can go on and you can just build a little how-to video that has some cartoon sprites in it. The example here is a template that's used to, it's a coronavirus health and safety guide. So something as similar, as simple for community health workers of showing people the correct way to wash your hands, you could do a quick 60-minute video on that. And I promise you that you can use that video in every application that you have to be able to show how you can take information, you can distill it down, and then you can make it engaging enough for the clients to want to view. That type of skill that you learn now to do that, you will be using for years to come at your job, and it will help that organization to see that maybe you can wear multiple hats. Not only can you do the work with individuals, but you can help develop the content that might be able to bring more customers, more clients into interacting with my organization. Another opportunity is chicagocares.org. So this is a website for volunteering. Volunteering is a great way to help make up the skill gaps, and it can be based upon what you're looking for. So if you're looking for making up the skill gap of, let's say, database management, you can go to an organization, let's say it's like a pet shelter, and ask that pet shelter if you can engage with their database system that's saying when an animal came in, how many times that animal has had somebody visit them in the shelter, and potentially something like the length that that animal's been there. And that type of information is likely used in things like marketing to say that, hey, this young puppy's been here for 6 weeks already, and that can be something that kind of tugs on the heartstrings to help an individual in the community perhaps want to adopt that animal. So volunteering is a great way of doing it, because the volunteer experience oftentimes can be a little bit more based upon what you want. When you're looking to do a job, there's already a defined task for you. When you go to volunteer for an organization, that group appreciates that you're donating your time, and in response, they'll likely be more flexible with the type of activities that you can do with them. So some immediate action that you can take this week is we're going to have another discussion board post question opportunity. And the question that I'd like to pose this week is for you to share an example of a way that you plan to close a skill gap for a job that you want to apply for. So the way that you might want to do this is perhaps post the image of your 2-highlighter example, along with a specific skill that maybe you highlighted in blue and how you plan to address that skill. Next week, we're going to be building upon some of these conversations that you're having with your faculty member in ways to identify the professional references that you need to have in order to apply for a job, and how can you ask somebody to be a reference. So that's our module for this week, and I again hope you're all staying as healthy as possible. I understand that we're probably all getting a little bit of cabin fever as well, but I'm hoping that this will help give you something proactive that might make you feel more comfortable about where you're headed during this week off that we'll be experiencing. So take care, and I'll see you all very soon.